So most of you who are a hybrid Ford Maverick owner know that from your vehicle sitting, sometimes even after you just driven it, you get the low battery warning, you get the low voltage indication, and it's going to shut down power, and you go and you open the door, nothing happens. And I've mentioned to people many times, get yourself a jump start pack, little lithium one. But even if you do have one, it stinks to get back to your vehicle and have to go through the whole process of using the key to open the door, popping the hood, in my case having to climb over the seat or whatever to actually lift the rear seat, because I keep my jump start pack in this little area next to the battery, along with scan tool and some other stuff. And getting to all that, lifting the hood, clipping the things on, it's all a pain. If you've ever done it, you know what I'm talking about. So I had an idea, add a solar charger, and these are actually really simple. This is, I don't know, it wasn't much. It's not a really high output. It's 1.5 watts. It's a trickle charger is all it is. But this should keep up with the modem and whatever other parasitic drag, parasitic loads there are on the battery as your vehicle just sits, sometimes for days. If you're like me and you have a work vehicle that sometimes you're driving, and your personal vehicle just sits in a parking lot somewhere, this way, anytime the sun's shining, the battery is going to be getting charged. And it's pretty simple. It's got a couple suction cups. It's got places to put the suction cups. And if you notice, now the only thing I'm going to have to modify is they give you these clamps to clamp onto your battery, and obviously I want something more permanent because I just want to leave it on all the time. So I'm going to probably cut these off and put ring terminals on, and then I can just hook it directly to my battery leads. And here it is. You can sort of see it through the glass. It is actually mounted behind the headrest on the passenger side, and if you watch there, see that blue light flashing? That is how the solar panel actually indicates it's generating. Now I am inside in a hangar, and it's still flashing fairly regularly, so this will actually work really well when it's parked outside in the sun. And there it is behind the headrest, so there's plenty of room. Nobody's gonna bang their head on it. It's really not gonna block my view of anything, and it's out of the way of the slider in the window as well. Okay, so open up your battery compartment, obviously, and before you go monkeying around with power and ground and all that stuff, do the smart thing. Disconnect your negative battery terminal right off the battery, and that way you won't let the smoke out of anything or do any arc welding you didn't plan on. And once you've got it loose, just simply lift it off just like that. Set it somewhere where it can't reconnect, because as you may or may not know, Ben Franklin, yeah, that guy from the Revolutionary War, he's the one who gave us positive and negative on batteries, because believe it or not, that was something he was actually fooling around with, and he got it backwards. And actually, electricity comes out of your negative, goes all over the chassis of your vehicle, it comes back through your power wires, if you want to know how it actually flows. But we still use positive and negative. Then the next thing you're gonna have to do, obviously, is get this stupid clip off your positive terminal. There's a little tab on both sides you gotta break loose. Then you can just kind of pivot it out of the way. And Ford very nicely added all kinds of extra terminals and stuff here, so it's fairly easy actually to connect something on. If you have a nut that size, you'd have to come up with it, but you could connect onto there, or you could connect onto there. And on the ground side, we got to be a little bit, I mean, technically we could ground the solar panel anyway. It doesn't even have to be grounded to the battery. They didn't make it so easy there, and so I may just be actually installing a screw right to the chassis of the vehicle, since that's all the ground cable does as well. Now this is something that you're probably not going to have. You're probably just going to have to take the battery out and scuff that up, but This is a bonding brush setup, and I used it, so I drilled a new hole and then I scraped away with this bonding brush on the end of my drill all of the paint. It's almost more like overspray than solid paint. I think it is some of the stuff that Ford dips the whole body in as part of it for corrosion prevention. But in order to get a good electrical bond, you'd want to use something like a wire brush to scrape away that surface. This is literally a wire brush with essentially something like a tie wrap around it. It's just a plastic collar, and so the tips are the only thing out, and it has a piloted thing here in the middle. So you just stick it in the hole and you just wiggle the drill around while it's spinning, and it clears that surface so that you have a very good electrical bond. But that's going to be the important thing about this, is get a good electrical bond on that extra screw you're going to add to the ground. And so here you can see I've replaced the negative clamp with a ring terminal that's going to go on the screw that's going to go in that new hole that I made in the battery tray. Okay, so now I've got the end that used to have the clips on it. It is now hardwired in. I have a ring terminal on this stud and I've tightened it all back down. That's a 10 millimeter. And then if you look down inside of there, I've got that screw securely fastened there. And these wires, this is going to become a permanent part where I can still remove it if I really want to with this plug, but I don't know why I would. I'm just leaving that there just in case, who knows. And then the last thing is just, I've got my power wire coming down from the solar panel running behind the seat. I'm actually going to run it behind these seat hinges, and I'm just going to have to slide it, just lift up and slide underneath the plastic here to get the cable to go down inside the battery box area, and I'll be done. So now you can see it's run, because actually I'm using the seatbelt anchor point right there as a guide, and it just runs along and goes up behind the seat back over to there. And so obviously, put your black or your plastic cover over your positive terminal, and then go ahead and tighten and install and tighten, get the syntax correct, your negative cable. And now it's not quite perpetual motion, but you will probably not have any issues with your battery. As I said, I mean, I'm inside of a hangar right now with just LED lighting, nothing crazy bright for what it takes to generate electricity with a solar panel, and it is somewhat actually still adding power back in. Now if I'm going to park this long term, let's say a parking garage, I will try and, I don't know, back up to the outside edge or park on the roof, or somehow or other be where the sun is shining, and this should actually keep the battery good and charged up. And even in a parking garage, look at the overhead lighting and see if you can't angle that solar panel so it is facing one of those lights. It's going to be on 24/7, and get as close underneath as you can, and it will give you some power going back to the battery. And it may not completely keep it from going dead, but it's going to definitely reduce how quickly the battery will taper off. Simple fix. I don't know, I'll show you here how much I paid on Amazon for this solar panel. It's nothing crazy. I've had vehicles in the past that had power issues for different reasons, and installing one of these, usually on the dashboard and plugged into a cigarette lighter, is all it took to actually keep the battery good and charged all the time. The issue with the Maverick is these cigarette lighters are not powered with the vehicle off, so that would not work in this case, but other vehicles it would work. And battery cover on, nobody will ever know the difference, but you will, because you shouldn't be getting those stupid notifications that, oh no, your vehicle is low on power, shutting down all unnecessary loads.